Some men my age come home from a church trip expecting coffee already brewed and the evening news humming in the den. I came home to my 8-year-old granddaughter collapsed beside the refrigerator, her little hand still reaching toward a juice box, and my wife standing over her saying, "She has to learn she can't use being sick to get her way. Brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, I need you to understand something before I go any further. I spent 38 years running into burning houses. My name is Earl Whitaker. I am 67 years old, retired fire chief from Larkspur County, Kentucky, and I have crawled through smoke so thick I could not see my own gloves in front of my face. I have carried grown men down ladders, pulled babies out of bedrooms, watched houses become ash because somebody ignored a small smell of smoke the night before. I knew fire. I knew danger. I knew how to read a room, how to listen for a wall groaning before it gave way, how to see panic hiding behind somebody's calm face. And somehow, in my own house, I missed the smoke until my little girl was lying on the kitchen floor. Her name is Lucy. Technically, Lucy is my granddaughter. But when my only son, Caleb, and his wife, April, were killed by a drunk driver outside Bowling Green, Lucy was 4 years old and still slept with a nightlight shaped like the moon. That night, while a state trooper sat at my kitchen table holding his hat in both hands, Lucy walked in, rubbing her eyes, and asked me why Daddy's truck wasn't in the driveway. From that moment on, she was mine. Not in a legal paper way at first. Not in a pretty way. In the real way. The way a child looks at you after the whole world has fallen apart, and you either become the ground beneath her feet or you let her keep falling. I became the ground. For 3 years, it was just us in that old white farmhouse on Mill Creek Road, pancakes on Saturday. Library after school, her pink backpack hanging from the same crooked hook by the mudroom door. She loved rocks, especially smooth ones from the creek, and believed every single one had a personality. She named them, lined them up on the windowsill, and scolded me if I moved Mr. Pebbles too close to Miss Roundy because apparently they were in a fight. Lucy had type 1 diabetes. Caleb and April had learned everything when she was a toddler, and after they passed, I learned too. I learned carb counts, nighttime alarms, glucose tabs, school nurse forms, emergency kits, insurance codes, and how to pretend I was not scared every time her monitor beeped in the dark. The first time I gave her an injection by myself, my hand shook so badly that Lucy patted my wrist and said, "It's okay, Pawpaw. Mommy said brave people can still shake." That child had more courage in her little finger than most grown men carry in their whole chest. Then Marla came into our lives. Marla Bennett sang alto in the church choir. She brought casseroles to funerals. She remembered birthdays. She had that soft southern way of making you feel looked after before you even knew you needed looking after. She was 58 when I met her. A widow, or so she said, with no children of her own. She told me she admired a man who kept his family close. She told me Lucy was a blessing in pigtails. She showed up one afternoon with a basket of homemade muffins and a sugar-free one wrapped separately for Lucy with a little purple ribbon tied around it. I should have wondered how she knew that much. Instead, I was grateful. That is the truth. I hate telling. I was tired. I was lonely, in a way I didn't have words for. I had spent decades being the man everybody called when something went wrong. But after Caleb died, something was always wrong, and there was nobody for me to call. Marla made the house feel less empty. She folded laundry. She sat beside Lucy during homework. She told me I deserved help. She told me Lucy needed a woman's touch. We married 11 months later in the church fellowship hall with yellow roses on the tables and Lucy wearing a blue dress she picked herself because she said it made her look like a serious princess. At first, everything looked fine. That sentence right there has ruined more families than fire ever did. Everything looked fine. Marla posted pictures of us after church. She packed Lucy's lunch with notes on napkins. She told the ladies at Bible study how blessed she was to be helping raise a child who had already lost so much. People praised her. They praised me too. "Earl, the Lord sent you somebody. Earl, that woman is an angel. Earl, Lucy finally has a mother figure again." I believed them because I wanted to. The first warning came from Lucy's school nurse, Mrs. Ainsley, in October. She called me while I was in Nashville at a fire safety conference for retired chiefs. She said Lucy's numbers had been strange after weekends, lower than expected on Monday mornings, and Lucy seemed tired, jumpy, not herself. I called Marla. She laughed softly and said, "That nurse worries too much. Lucy sneaks snacks and then acts pitiful when we correct it. I've got it handled, Earl." I thanked her. I actually thanked her. The second warning came in December, when my neighbor Ray stopped me at the mailbox and said he'd seen Lucy sitting on the back steps in 40-degree weather without a coat. I asked Marla about it. She sighed and said Lucy had thrown a tantrum because she did not want to clean her room, and she had stepped outside for fresh air. "She's learning how to get sympathy," Marla said. "You give in too easy." That stung because part of me feared it was true. I was an old man raising a little girl alone. Maybe I did spoil her. Maybe I did confuse protection with softness. So I let it pass. The third warning was Lucy herself. I was tucking her in one night before a 2-day trip to Lexington to speak at a firefighter memorial. She held my sleeve and asked, "Do you have to go?" "Only 2 sleeps," I told her. She looked toward the bedroom door and whispered, "Can I call you if I need to?" That should have stopped me cold. Instead, I kissed her forehead and said, "Always, sweetheart." Then I left the next morning. The memorial ended early because the weather turned bad. An ice storm was supposed to move through before midnight, so I decided to drive home instead of staying at the hotel. I did not call Marla. I wanted to surprise Lucy with a little wooden paint set I had bought her from a craft shop near the highway. She had been painting rocks for weeks, giving them eyes, mouths, and names, leaving them around the house like tiny witnesses. I pulled into my driveway a little after 9. The porch light was off, which was strange. Marla always left it on. The kitchen window glowed yellow. I remember seeing my breath in the dark as I got out of the truck. I remember holding that paint set under my arm. I remember thinking the house looked too quiet. When I opened the back door, I heard the refrigerator beeping. Not loud, just that soft, open door alarm. I stepped into the kitchen and saw Lucy on the floor. She was curled on her side, bare feet tucked under her nightgown, one arm stretched toward the bottom shelf of the refrigerator where we kept emergency juice boxes. Her continuous glucose monitor receiver was lying near the table, face down, buzzing against the wood like an insect trapped in a jar. Her lips were pale. Her eyes were half open but not seeing. I dropped so fast my old knees cracked against the tile. "Lucy, baby, Papa's here." Her skin felt clammy. Her breathing was thin. I grabbed the emergency kit from the cabinet, but the bright orange pouch we always kept there was gone. Gone. "Marla," I shouted. She came in from the hallway wearing her robe, not running, not frightened, just annoyed, like I had interrupted her while she was balancing a checkbook. "She's fine," Marla said. She was told she couldn't have juice because she lied about cleaning her room. I stared at her. "Her sugar is low. She says that when she wants attention." The room tilted a little. I had felt floors sag under me in burning houses, but nothing ever moved beneath my feet like my own kitchen did then. "She is not pretending," I said. Marla folded her arms. "Earl, if you keep rewarding this behavior, she will control this whole house with that machine. That machine. That machine kept my granddaughter alive." I called 911. The ambulance arrived in 7 minutes. I know because I counted every one of them while kneeling on the floor, doing what the dispatcher told me, praying in a voice I did not recognize as mine. 2 EMTs came through the back door. The first one was a younger woman. The second was a broad-shouldered man with gray in his beard and a name patch that said Nolan. He saw Lucy first. Then he saw me. Then he saw Marla in the doorway. And his face changed. Now, I have seen men recognize smoke before they smelled flame. That was the look. Recognition. Fear. Anger locked behind professionalism. He worked on Lucy quickly, calling out numbers to his partner. Then he turned to me and said, "Chief Whitaker, step outside with me for just a second." I had been retired 4 years, but men in emergency services still called me Chief. That night, the word sounded like a warning. We stepped into the mudroom. Nolan kept his voice low. "Is that woman your wife?" "Yes." "What name does she use?" "Marla Whitaker now. Marla Bennett before." His jaw tightened. "Did she ever go by Marla Keene?" My mouth went dry. "I don't know." He looked past me toward the kitchen. I responded to a call in Hardin County 6 years ago. Different child, different family, home health situation, severe neglect involving a diabetic boy. The caregiver's name was Marla Keene. Same face, same voice. She told us the child was manipulative, said he used his condition for attention. For a second, I could not hear the refrigerator anymore. I could not hear the EMTs. I could only hear blood rushing in my ears. What happened? Nolan looked me dead in the eye. That boy survived. Barely. The case got messy. Records sealed. She disappeared before the civil side finished moving. I gripped the doorframe so hard my fingers hurt. Are you telling me my wife has done this before? I'm telling you, he said carefully, your granddaughter needs protection tonight, and you need to make sure nobody in that house touches her medical supplies again. I rode in the ambulance with Lucy. Marla said she would follow in her car. She wanted time to get dressed properly. Those were her words. Get dressed properly, while Lucy lay with monitors stuck to her chest. On the way to St. Catherine's Hospital, I held Lucy's hand and did the thing I had done at every fire scene in my career. I stopped feeling first. I started observing. Feeling comes later. If you let it come too soon, it burns through all the evidence. At the hospital, they took Lucy back immediately. I stood under fluorescent lights with my jacket still smelling like cold air and diesel, and I began pulling up every record I could access. Her glucose monitor app, pharmacy refills, school nurse messages, pediatric portal, insurance claims, family calendar. I had never looked at them all together. That is how people get fooled, folks. One strange thing looks like weather. 10 strange things in a row become climate. Lucy's dangerous lows happened when I was gone. Every time. Nashville, Lexington, Owensboro, a church men's retreat in Tennessee, a fire chief's luncheon in Louisville. There were school notes I had never seen, marked as read from Marla's email. There were refill requests for supplies that should not have run out that fast. There were missed alerts on Lucy's monitor, silenced from Marla's phone while I was away. Silenced. Not missed. Silenced. Marla arrived close to midnight wearing pearl earrings and lipstick. I remember that detail because it nearly broke me. My granddaughter was behind a hospital door, and Marla had stopped to put on pearls. She sat beside me and reached for my hand. How is she? I moved my hand before she touched it. The doctor is still with her. Marla lowered her eyes. I hate when she does this. She scares you, and then you get upset with me. There it was, the turn, the little twist of guilt, the way she made herself the injured party while a child fought to wake up. The EMT recognized you, I said. Only that. Her face did not change much, but her right hand tightened around her purse strap. Recognized me? Said you looked familiar. She gave a small laugh. I sing at funerals, Earl. Half the county thinks they know me. I nodded like that made sense. That is another thing fire teaches you. Never swing an axe before you know where the studs are. The doctor came out after 1 a.m. Dr. Patel, calm eyes, tired voice, no nonsense. She told me Lucy was stable. Severely hypoglycemic, dehydrated, exhausted. They were keeping her overnight. Then she asked who had been responsible for Lucy's care that evening. I was, Marla said quickly. And I told them already, Lucy is very dramatic about food. She gets herself worked up. Dr. Patel looked at her. Mrs. Whitaker, a child with this condition does not become dangerously low because she is dramatic. Heart. Marla's mouth opened, then closed. Dr. Patel turned to me. We are making a mandatory report. A hospital social worker will speak with you before morning. Good, I said. Marla looked at me then. For the first time that night, I saw the mask slip far enough to show the woman underneath. Not afraid for Lucy. Afraid of exposure. She left at 2:30, saying she had a migraine. The minute she was gone, I called my old deputy chief, Don Mercer. Don had become county emergency manager after I retired. If a document existed in Larkspur County, Don knew which office held it and which person was honest enough to pull it. Earl, he said, voice thick with sleep. I need help. That was not a sentence I said often. He heard something in it and was fully awake. What happened? I told him enough. By 6 a.m, Dawn had connected me with a family attorney named Rebecca Sloan and a retired state investigator who owed our department a favor from a flood rescue back in 1998. By 7, I had printed Lucy's glucose logs from the hospital business center. By 8, Mrs. Ainsley from the school had emailed every note she had sent Marla, every incident report, every time Lucy came in shaking, pale, or afraid to eat her lunch because Grandma Marla said I didn't earn it. Earn it. A child earning food. I went into the bathroom and locked the door because I could feel the feelings trying to come. I gripped the sink, looked at my old face in the mirror, and whispered, "Not yet. Not yet. Lucy first." At 9:15, they let me into her room. She looked so small, under that white blanket. Her curls were tangled on the pillow. A purple bandage covered the back of her hand where the IV went in. On the tray beside her was a cup of orange juice with a straw. When she saw me, her chin trembled. "Paw." I sat beside her and took her hand. "I'm here. Cricket. Is she mad? Not, is she here? Not, where is Marla? Is she mad?" That was when my heart cracked clean down the middle. "No," I said. "She is not coming in here." Lucy stared at me for a long moment, weighing whether the grown-up in front of her was finally telling the truth. Then her shoulders dropped. I had seen firefighters relax after the roof stopped creaking. I had seen homeowners collapse when they realized everyone got out alive. But I had never seen relief as painful as that child's shoulders lowering in a hospital bed. "Can I tell you something bad?" she whispered. "You can tell me anything." She looked at the door first. "She puts my sugar things in the top cabinet when you leave." I held very still. "She says, I think I'm special because I have a monitor. She says nobody likes a child who makes trouble." My throat tightened. "Did she tell you not to call me?" Lucy nodded. "She said you're old and tired, and if I make things too hard, you'll send me to a home where kids don't get to pick their blankets." I closed my eyes for half a second. There it was. The reason she had stayed quiet. Not because children are foolish. Not because she trusted the wrong adult. Because the wrong adult had found the exact fear inside a child who had already lost both parents and pressed on it until silence felt safer than truth. I leaned forward until my forehead touched her hand. "Listen to me, Lucy May Whitaker. I don't care how old I get. I don't care how tired I am. There is no place on this earth I would send you away to. You are my family. You are my home. Do you understand?" She started crying then, quietly at first, then with her whole little body. I held her until the social worker came. Her name was Denise Calloway. She was built like a church pillar and had the eyes of a woman who had spent 20 years hearing children tell the truth adults tried to bury. She listened to Lucy. She listened to me. She read the logs. She asked clear questions. She did not flinch. When she finished, she stepped into the hallway with me. "Mr. Whitaker, based on the medical evidence, the child's statement, the prior concerns from school, and what EMS reported last night, we are moving this as an emergency protective matter." "When?" "Today." That one word steadied me better than any prayer I had managed. Today, at 10:30, I met Rebecca Sloan in a small conference room off the hospital chapel. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with a navy suit and a legal pad already full of notes. She did not waste time offering comfort neither of us could use yet. "Show me the pattern," she said. I did. Every trip I took, every low, every silenced alarm, every school note, every refill. Every time Marla had been alone with Lucy. Then I showed her the email from Dawn's investigator. Marla Bennett had, in fact, once used the name Marla Keene. There had been a substantiated neglect investigation in another county. No conviction, but enough smoke to make any honest person start looking for flame. Rebecca read it all. Then she put her pen down. "Mr. Whitaker, I can file for an emergency protective order before lunch. I can also request exclusive occupancy of the home, no contact with Lucy, and preservation of all electronic devices related to her care." "Do it. She will try to say you're confused, that you're elderly, that you misunderstood the medical needs." I almost laughed. "She can try." Rebecca looked at me with the faintest hint of a smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." Now, I knew where Marla would be. Every Thursday at noon, Marla attended the Larkspur Ladies' Outreach Luncheon at First Baptist. It was her stage. She arranged flowers, collected donations, hugged widows, and told everyone how hard it was raising a medically fragile child at her age. She had built herself a crown out of sympathy, and she wore it every Thursday under fluorescent lights in the fellowship hall. At 11:40, Denise asked if I knew Marla's location. Yes, I said. And she'll have an audience. I did not go there. People think revenge is being present to watch somebody fall. It isn't. Not the kind that lasts. Real justice does not need you clapping from the front row. Real justice walks in carrying paperwork, wearing a badge, and saying a name the guilty person thought they had buried. I heard what happened later from Pastor Jim, from Denise, and from 3 women who called me before sundown pretending they were checking on Lucy but mostly wanting to describe every second. Marla was standing near the dessert table wearing a pale green dress and the same pearls from the hospital. She had just finished telling the room that Lucy was having one of her episodes again and that I was beside myself with worry, bless his heart. Then the sheriff's deputy walked in with Denise Calloway and Rebecca Sloan. The room went quiet the way church rooms do when gossip becomes reality. Denise asked for Marla Bennett Whitaker. Marla smiled at first. That soft smile, the one that had fooled casserole committees and grieving men. I'm Marla, she said. Is this about Lucy? Earl gets so overwhelmed. Rebecca placed the emergency order on the folding table beside a tray of lemon bars. This is a court order barring you from contact with Lucy Whitaker and removing you from the residence pending investigation. Marla's smile held for one more second. Then it died. People say a person's true face shows when they are angry. That is not always true. Sometimes it shows when they realize charm has stopped working. She looked around the room for allies. Women who had praised her, women who had brought her prayer cards, women who had told her she was a saint. Nobody moved. Not one. The deputy asked her to step outside. She refused. Then she raised her voice. Then she said Lucy was unstable, that I was too old, that nobody understood what she had endured. And that was when Pastor Jim, quiet old Pastor Jim who had baptized my son, stood up from the back table and said, Marla, stop talking. I wish I had been there for that part. They did not handcuff her in the fellowship hall. Not then. That came later, after the search of the house, after investigators found Lucy's emergency supplies in a locked sewing box in the upstairs closet, after they found Marla's handwritten notes about correcting attention-seeking behavior, after the old phone in Marla's nightstand showed deleted alerts and blocked outgoing calls to my number. By 3 that afternoon, I was back at the farmhouse with Don and a deputy. The house felt wrong at first. Like smoke after a fire is out. The danger is gone, but the smell still tells the story. I changed the locks. I reset the alarm code. I removed Marla from every school form, every medical portal, every pharmacy pickup list. I threw away the pearl-colored mug she used every morning. Maybe that was petty. I do not care. Then I went upstairs to Lucy's room. Her rocks were still on the windowsill. Mr. Pebbles, Miss Roundy, Captain Sparkle. A dozen little painted faces staring out at the winter yard like they had been waiting for someone to notice. On her dresser sat the small wooden paint set I had dropped the night before. I had not even realized one of the EMTs must have picked it up and placed it there. I sat on the edge of her bed and finally let the feelings come. Not all of them. An old man's body can only hold so much grief at once. But enough. Enough to bow my head. Enough to say Caleb's name. Enough to say April's. Enough to apologize to both of them for bringing danger into the house I had promised would protect their child. Lucy came home the next morning. She walked through the back door slowly, holding my hand, her hospital bracelet still on because she said it made her look like she had joined a secret club. She stopped in the kitchen and looked at the refrigerator. Then she looked at me. Can I get my own juice now? I opened the refrigerator door. The bottom shelf was full. Juice boxes, glucose gel, snacks, everything, where her small hands could reach. The orange emergency kit was back in the cabinet, with another one in the living room, another in my truck, and another at Ray's house next door. You don't ever have to earn what keeps you alive, I said. She nodded seriously, like I had given her a rule worth remembering. That evening, we ate grilled cheese sandwiches, because that is what she wanted. Not fancy, not symbolic. Just grilled cheese cut into triangles with tomato soup in the blue bowls Caleb used to use when he was a boy. After dinner, she carried her paint set to the kitchen table and painted a small, flat creek rock bright yellow. She gave it 2 black eyes and a crooked smile. "What's that one's name?" I asked. She thought about it. "Sunny," she said, "because the house isn't dark anymore." I had to turn away for a moment and pretend to rinse a spoon. 2 weeks later, Marla was formally charged with child endangerment, neglect of a dependent minor, and interfering with medical care. The previous county reopened its file. Her church friends stopped calling. Her name came off committees, prayer chains, and casserole lists. She had spent years building a life out of other people's trust. In the end, the truth took it apart faster than flame takes dry curtains. But that is not the part I hold closest. The part I hold closest happened a month later. Lucy and I were at the county animal shelter because Mrs. Ainsley had mentioned they had a therapy dog program for children with medical anxiety. I told Lucy we were just looking. "Grandparents, you already know that was a lie we tell ourselves before surrender." There was an old beagle there, gray around the muzzle, one ear bent funny, quiet as Sunday morning. His name was Biscuit. Lucy sat cross-legged on the floor, and Biscuit walked straight to her, put his head in her lap, and sighed like he had finally found the person he had been missing. Lucy looked up at me. "Pawpaw, he's old. So am I. He probably gets tired. So do I." She stroked his head. "Can tired people still stay?" I knelt down beside her. My knees hurt. My heart hurt worse. "Yes," I said. "Tired people can still stay." So Biscuit came home with us. That first night, Lucy fell asleep on the couch with Biscuit curled against her legs and her monitor on the side table where both of us could hear it. Real sleep. Safe sleep. No fear hiding in the corners. No footsteps in the hallway making her pretend to be braver than any child should have to be. I sat in my old recliner until after midnight, watching the two of them breathe. The house was quiet, not the wrong kind of quiet. The good kind. The kind you hear after the trucks have rolled back to the station, after the fire is out, after everybody who matters is accounted for. I used to tell young firefighters that the most dangerous fire is the one burning behind a closed door. You put your hand near it. You check for heat. You pay attention to what the house is trying to tell you, because by the time flames are showing, it has already been burning for a while. I should have checked the door sooner. I will carry that for the rest of my life. But I checked it in time, and from that day forward, no one ever made Lucy whisper for help in her own home again.